You're checking out the Investor Shed podcast with Nick Beveridge and Jeremy Kitchen. They're on the path to financial freedom and they're taking their community with them. Stay tuned for the best free real estate investing advice on the internet.
Welcome to the Investor Shed podcast. I'm Nick Beveridge here with my co-host, the hard money lending shirt guy, Jeremy Kitchen.
I threw you for a loop today. If you're listening on the audio form, I am wearing a shirt that says, I lend hard money. What is your superpower? Nick, how's it going today?
Pretty good. Had a weekend full of sick people in the house. I am still not sick. My daughter had the flu all last week, and she started getting better this weekend. And then Hillary, my wife, now has the flu. So sorry I was late this morning. Had to drop the kids off.
That's okay.
But super glad we've got Joe Turner, returning guest, our first ever returning guest. How do you think it went?
I think it went great. Joe Turner is the reigning, undisputed champion of two-time guesting. Joe Turner has also been a guest host on the podcast a couple times. Go back to season 1 and check out those episodes. Joe actually interviews Nick Beveridge and Nick Beveridge's wife, Hillary Beveridge, talking about running a real estate team and being a spouse to a crazy real estate investor. They're good episodes for sure. So yeah, Joe's great, and she's what's cool about this episode now, and that's why we had her on the episode as well. She's actually switching up her strategy from doing a whole bunch of local properties to going nationally and buying bigger and more cash flowing properties. Really cool seeing how she's doing it and what strategies she's implementing.
Yes, we have a lot to learn from Joe. But, you know, the thing about her, she's super consistent. She stuck to a strategy for a long time that really worked. And then as soon as that strategy started to dwindle off, she switched gears, pivoted. Now she's in multifamily. And you guys are going to enjoy this. So stick around, get a bowl of oatmeal, and enjoy. Welcome to the Investor Shed podcast. I'm here with Jeremy Kitchen and Joe Turner, the returning.
Yeah!
All right, Joe, you are my very first returning guest. Congratulations. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Finally over the flu, but feeling great.
Heard you weren't feeling good. I'm glad you're feeling better. It's good to see you back on your feet and kicking some butt for sure. Nick, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for asking. It's been a good weekend. We had a lot of family in town, kind of a little hectic, but it works.
Right on. Yeah, the flu's been going around my house too. That hasn't hit me yet, but I'm probably next, but it probably won't happen because I'm super healthy and whatnot.
I had wheatgrass back in 2020. I'm probably fine.
Yeah. Still do the wheatgrass.
That's right. I love it.
All right, Joe. So Jeremy's going to start with some questions, but I just wanted to say thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I love talking about myself.
I love it. That's the best, right? You get to talk about yourself. This is the Joe Turner Spotlight Hour. I love it so much. So, Joe, obviously, Nick interviewed you in season 1 of the Investor Shed podcast. Highly recommend everybody go check out that episode. Joe's just packed full of knowledge and charisma, and she's just so great. And we're all happy to be in business with Joe Turner. Just a little recap, though. Let's give everyone kind of an introduction to yourself. What you've been up to? What have you been working on? What kind of investments do you like?
Sure. So I did a lot of different things before I found real estate, but about 6.5 years ago, I got my license and I was just going to invest for my family and just maybe get one rental a year. And I went to this thing called the REI meetup, and Nick Beveridge was hosting it, and he pretty quickly made me an offer I could not turn down, which was to help him build a team of investor savvy agents and help build my portfolio as I was doing it. It was the best way to learn and get involved in the community. And so I think we're going to get into it, but it's been lovingly called the Joe Turner method, in that I would just live in a house for a year and then move out and keep it as a rental. And I did that. I think at least 5 or 6 of my houses I got that way. Did not invent that at all, but I'd like to inspire people to do that. And so I'm up to 14 properties, and I'm just pivoting now to, I'm going to close this week on my first 12-unit apartment in Springfield, Illinois. So now I have some great appreciating assets here locally, and now I want to look for more cash flow out of state.
I love it.
And I just want to throw this out there. Your plan is to stay in each one of these houses for about a year, but you didn't really actually do that on a lot of them, right? You found something else after just a few months, and you were able to make the sacrifice and make the move almost every 6 months, right?
One or two did that. Most of them I did actually live in for at least a year. But I think when I moved to, yeah, from Pascal to St. Croix, that was only like 9 months. And then this last move was a year. So I really did intend to live in them for a year I'm a good girl. I play by the bank rules as much as I can. So.
Yeah, and my memory's foggy, so never mind that last comment.
So we're going to talk just a little bit about the real estate team with Nick. I know you are the co-owner of the North Idaho REI team, Joe. It's really cool because I've gotten to work with you and Nick specifically. Both of you have been really big mentors to me. So what was the benefit of growing a team with Nick? I know there's a lot of different methods to that. Like you guys, there's a brawny side and a brainy side, and you kind of go back and forth on that. So how do you complement each other, do you think?
I just feel so lucky. I think that a lot of partnerships do not work in real estate, but for some weird reason, Nick and I's personality just we complement each other really well on that. And for me, I had nothing to lose. I was just getting into real estate. I just moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and so I didn't have a network yet, and I was able to plug right into his and learn everything he knew about investing. And I think I don't want to speak for Nick, but I'm going to speak for Nick, that he was a little scattered at the time and needed some focus and needed somebody who's going to implement some of his big ideas. And so I was happy to be that person.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I read the book Traction maybe 3 or 4 years after we met, and I didn't realize it till then. But you were kind of like the integrator of the team, and I was a visionary, and I like to start projects and never really finish them. And it was just a match made in heaven that you were able to show up into my life and help me fulfill everything that we wanted to accomplish. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a win-win for sure.
Yeah, and can we go back just to the Joe Turner method just a little bit? Obviously, like you said, you've been investing mostly in North Idaho. You do have some other out-of-state houses as well, though, correct? You did mention Illinois.
Well, that I'm buying an apartment in Illinois. I still have a house in Wisconsin. That's where I'm from originally, and that was a primary residence. That's my old girl, bought in 2013. Yeah. So I still have that house there. But then everything else was here. And I just think I mean, I hear David Green on Bigger Pockets talk about it all the time. It's the easiest way to get in. And I have VA benefits as well. So I could get into a house with nothing down, and my cat Carl is going to walk across the screen here.
Hey,
I could
Carl.
get, um, yeah, you get into a house with the lowest interest rate with nothing down, or, a couple times I put 5% down for a conventional loan. You live in it for a year. Of course, I lucked out in the greatest run up of appreciation, I feel like, in my lifetime. So then with rents too. So then by the time I would move out, I would be cash flowing at least $300 to $500, and even more on some of these houses. So
And that's per door, right?
yeah, per door. I'm today because three of my houses I use as Airbnb vacation rentals, so it's hard to exactly calculate what the cash flow is, but it's somewhere between 5 and 10 grand a month, just by primarily using that method. It's just in 6 years. I don't. It's a great way to go if you are starting, in my opinion.
And I just want to throw this out there too, because a lot of people, like you just said it, like it was luck. You know, you hit the run up of the market, interest rates are super low. But honestly, like anybody could have done what you did, but most people didn't because you decided to take personal sacrifices. You decided to actually take action and do these things. Most people could have done what you did, but they didn't. And because you chose to do what you did and just trusted in your system of, just buy a house, move into it, rent it out when you're done, go buy another one. You've been able to amass a huge fortune as compared to the American public, and it's just incredible.
Thank you. Most of these houses were also value add in some way. Either I finished a basement or it was a cosmetic fixer that I kind of fixed for a month before I moved in. So, I was trying to buy great deals too. It wasn't, but a couple of them were new construction too. But I just believed I saw this area, how it was, the housing demand was going crazy, and that you could buy a new construction house for less than a resale house, back in 2019. And so I was like, well, that makes sense. And then I won't have very much CapEx, so it worked great.
Now, when you have your rentals and everything, do you set aside actual monthly payments for your capex expenses and other fixer-upper needs and everything like that?
I have not in the past. That's why I'm excited to be parlaying into multifamily, because I feel like I'm running the numbers way more conservatively and going to have those buffers for the multifamily space. With my single families, I just kind of conservatively, I have a nice chunk of money set aside for all of them. I don't just put, just each one having money set aside. But it's definitely been interesting because I think I've had rose colored glasses with some of them. And I was like, oh, yeah, on paper, I'm making $500 a month. But then at the end of the year, when you look at your taxes, you're like, oh, yeah, I replaced a water heater and a furnace on that one. And then it's like, oh, I actually lost money on this year. But I also got huge appreciations and tax benefits and all the good stuff that comes with it. So I still love my single families here, but I'm excited to see how it works out with these apartments where I am being running the numbers a little better with CapEx and setting aside, a lot of reserves.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of your Illinois property, do you have a team all set up out there for people to, your handyman, you got your electrician out there, property manager, everything all in place?
So the property manager is my star team member. So he has a crew on salary that is going to be so just to dive into that little one, if you want me to for a second.
Yeah, please do. Absolutely.
So I found that I was looking on Crexy.com. I was just inspired. We went to a conference at the end of October, and I was like, man, I want to get an apartment out of state, a small apartment, somewhere between, 5 and 20 units. And I came across, I think it was an 8 unit on Crexy.com in Springfield, Illinois. And it was one of the first one. I was just analyzing deals, and I was like, wow, these numbers actually make sense. And so I called that agent. Turned out it wasn't in the best neighborhood because I want to get as close to a B neighborhood as possible. But in the meantime, I was networking with him, and he gave me his local credit union lender. And I started talking to him, and I asked him if he knew of anything else. And then he knew of this property manager who just had bought a big portfolio and didn't really want to hang on to some of the apartments. And so then he had a 12 unit in a nicer part of town. And so it was off market. And, I'm really excited. I think it's going to do great. So I forgot what your original question was about that one, but
No, that's okay. You rolled with it really well. Can you tell us what you're buying it for, by the way, and what's your estimated rents you're thinking of? As for someone who is interested in out-of-state investing, I'm kind of looking at you right now and seeing like, okay, is Joe Turner going to actually do this? Like, what's she implementing? So maybe I could implement some of it in the future as well.
yes. So purchase price is 515, which it's off market, did not include any commissions, but I had already built a good rapport with the agent on this first deal I called about. And so I offered him a flat fee of 3 grand to kind of help me with the paperwork, help me with being my, eyes and ears on the ground in Springfield. It's a coincidence that I was flying home to Wisconsin for Thanksgiving, and I got to go down there for the inspection and meet everybody. And now I just feel super comfortable. So I highly recommend the first time you're in a new area out of state. I think 100% you should go there and you should meet face to face with the people, because I base a lot of things off gut instinct too. I mean, I want to run the numbers really well, but also your gut will tell you if you're dealing with the right people. So I really loved these guys. So back to your original question was, yes, the property manager is kind of my, star player that's going to coordinate and have contractors. So this 12 unit too, 4 of the units have been renovated and 8 still have to be renovated. They were renting for about $500 a month, which is super low. The market value is 900. So once these units are renovated, so just the easy math, 900 times 12 puts you at about 10,800. I'm buying it for 515. That's like the 2% rule. If you're just like, oh, that looks like that might make sense, let me dive into that. Taxes are crazy high in Illinois. So that's like the one thing but it's still, those numbers still make a lot of sense. Yeah, so I'm excited. I close on Thursday, and then hopefully I'll be your first third timer guest in a year or two, and I can let you know how it all played out.
I love it. That's good stuff. Nick, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm curious. So when you say property taxes were super high, is there a certain like percentage that is like ideal for buying apartments per unit that you have to that you're trying to stay within? Because you went through like a mentorship program buying multifamily. Is there anything that you learned when underwriting deals, how much you should be paying for taxes on a percentage basis per unit or anything like that?
I think there's rules of thumb, but I just use the spreadsheet and I just plug it all in. And then, one of the main metrics I look at is the DSCR and the cash on cash return. So the DSCR is the debt service cover ratio, and banks need that to be usually, some are flexible, 1.25. So you can analyze a lot of deals and immediately be like, that doesn't come close to that. There's no way I'm going to get a loan on this, right? And then the other thing, I definitely want, uh, the basic metric is 10% cash on cash, but then I'm looking at value add kind of burring an apartment. I've done that several times here, and so if I can see that, maybe my cash on cash is like 10% right now, but as soon as I do a cash out refinance when rates go down, I'm going to get all my money back and probably a lot more. Infinite returns is always the goal. So that's why I really like this deal too. But as far as percentage of taxes, I don't care that much about that versus like the overall numbers and how they fill in the spreadsheet and then what those two metrics show.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned that a lender actually turned you onto this deal. And so I'm assuming that lender is also doing the financing for this, right?
Yes, and so it's great. So they locked in. Well, I think it's great. You guys are like 7%. I would never. But for now, I think that's amazing. So this deal works at 7% and only amortized over 20 years. It's a 5-year note. There's no prepayment penalty. So basically, my hope is that within the next 2 years, that the rates will go down to 5. I would hope. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, but even if they don't, that it cash flows. It cash flows as is, and I think that's a really, like, that's the kind of deal you want to get into. I actually just backed out of a 5 unit. I was under contract in Kentucky. I was just all like, I want to get 100 units. I'm go, go, go. And so I got this deal in Kentucky under contract. It didn't make quite as much sense, but I was still thinking it's a great area. That it was Richmond, Kentucky. The city is growing. It's only 20 minutes outside Lexington. I just thought it'd be a good long-term play. I flew out there. It was a nightmare, and I backed out, is the long story short. So that's why I say go meet the people, go walk through every, apartment you might buy.
Now you mentioned a DSCR loan. Is that the type of loan that you're getting on this property?
Um, so what they're doing, I think it's called a loan to cost or something like that. So basically, the purchase price is 515. It's going to take about 85,000 to renovate the remaining 8 units, cost about 10 grand per unit. So then they're making the loan, or the purchase price to them is more like 600,000, and then 20% of that is 485. So I just have to bring the difference between 515 minus 485 is like my down payment, and then I leave 85 grand at the bank with them for the renovations. So it's crazy bananas good to me, that I thought I'd have to put 20% down plus bring the renovation money, but they're kind of letting my down payment be the renovation money. So I'm like, okay, that's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty creative.
So I like these guys. I like these guys a lot, even though it's only amortized over 20 years and the rate's kind of high. Probably, maybe you could get it in the sixes with some other banks, but I think it works for this one. So
So tell me, if you don't mind, how complicated was this deal as compared to one of your normal single family home deals? And what's going to be kind of the difference in cash flow?
so I say it's pretty much the same, only better. I mean, I think this was easier. I was like, I'm constantly waiting for something to throw a curveball at me. Um, but yeah, I think it was even easier than a local deal, honestly. And we'll see how that plays out,
Mhm.
as the renovations go on. I'm sure there'll be hiccups. Um, but what was the second part of your question again?
I'm curious, like, what's the cash flow difference on this building versus a single family home that you normally get?
Yeah, so single family home I normally get, I'm not cash flowing right now. So we just our latest project was downtown Coeur d'Alene, Pennsylvania. We did a cash out refi, got all our funds back, so it's a free house, infinite returns, but the payment is 2,300 and that's all I could rent it for. So that's kind of a long-term play. This one, and it's funny, it's almost the same price. That one appraised at 536 once done, and this is I'm buying this apartment for 515, and the cash flow once things are said and done, even if I can't drop my interest rate, will probably be 3 grand a month. So this is, I do this a few times. It's completely life changing. So
Well, just that one deal is like life changing for most people.
yeah,
So that's pretty awesome. And
yeah,
it was about the same amount of effort. And then what I love about this too is like this forces you to be a better investor because you can't just go to the property and fix it up yourself like you're so used to doing, right?
exactly. And that's why I networked with this agent. I brought him on board. He has also just started a small property management group and has contractors, and he's an investor savvy agent. And so that's why I feel like he's my backup. If this property manager turns out not to be great, I know more people now, and that makes me feel more comfortable too doing this from out of state.
I want to elaborate on that a little bit. Again, as somebody curious about long distance real estate investing, like it feels like a world that I know nothing about. How would somebody go about investing in real estate from where they're not comfortable at? Like, what's the first steps you need to be taking, and who do you need to be networking with?
I mean, the first step is definitely education. Like, you need to go to conferences, you need to start having conversations with any investor. But really, once you're like, okay, what the next step is, I just started calling. I looked on Zillow, Crexy.com, LoopNet. I did join a mastermind. It's called Addicted to ROI. And it was 3 grand, and it has a ton of education on that website. And they have deals they post and people you can ask for advice. I honestly don't even think that's necessary now that I'm in that, but I'm also been an agent for 7 years and an investor, right? But if you were brand new, I think a low cost, investor friendly mastermind group would be a great way to start. I don't recommend spending like all your money or 50 grand on one because there's tons of free education, even bigger pockets. Once you become a pro member, that's like $300 a year, has all this information right on there. They even have deals and rent-a-meters, and like you can really learn a lot with resources like that. And then I think it's just calling people, call agents that have listings of things you are interested in. That's what I've done. And I'm going to continue to do because I just think, that's how you meet and network with the people that are in the space you want to be.
Absolutely.
No, and I just wanted to throw this in there too. I do love that you recommend join a small mastermind, but don't go crazy. Don't you know don't spend 40 grand because
No, I mean, like I said, mine was 3 grand, but I really did it so I could become best friends with Jennifer Beadles, even though that probably won't happen. But
Well, will it into
she,
existence. Keep showing up, and it might happen. Yeah.
yeah,
but what you're proving is that there's just so many resources out there available to you. Bigger Pockets, Crexy, you just pick up the phone and just start talking to people, and you're going to learn so much more than you will out of a big mentorship program that like and the reason why I say 40 grand is because I was just at a great mentorship, kind of course pitch thing for a weekend last 2 weekends ago. And gosh, they brainwash you so good into convincing you that all you need to do is just rack up all your credit cards, buy this program, and life is going to be easy after that. But it's not that simple, because you still got to do the work. And by doing the work, you're going to learn. And so anyway, there are other alternatives to join a huge mastermind program.
absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And go to your local meetups because we just had our second out of state investor meetup. Um, and there's such a wealth of knowledge. There's probably 20, 25 people in there. There's people that are investing all out of state, and you can just learn and network from them. I think that's way more helpful than paying 40 grand to, people that aren't right in your area.
I agree. Absolutely. And we are going to circle back just a little bit too. I did want to talk about how real estate has changed your life. Obviously, when you were in the Army, you got out, you were a speech therapist for a while. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you never started with real estate, or real estate investing, do you think you would be at the place you're at today?
There's no way I would have had, like, the last 6 years is it's blown my mind how much fun and how much money I've made. Like, that's always the goal too. Even growing this team with Nick, we're just like, how much fun can we have while creating wealth for ourselves and everybody around us? And I mean, when I was just a speech therapist, we were living paycheck to paycheck literally until I started in real estate. And I think if had I kept my W-2 job, had I been passionate about speech therapy, I hated it. But had I loved it and stuck with it, I still could have moved every year and built up my portfolio. It doesn't take that long to get to a place where, you know, you have your financial independence and you have your FU card if you want to quit your job. But I totally hijacked the system and did it so much faster, just becoming an agent and just constantly surrounding myself with like-minded people. Um, and it's funny because I go through phases. I did a year ago where it's like I was financially independent. I could just stop. But it's like, how boring would that be? And so then, you know, it's funny how you just put it out there in the universe. Okay, what's the next step? And then I've been so reinvigorated this last few months finding the idea of multifamily out of state investing. Like, I'm so excited to now see if I can get to 100 doors and how many more people I can help, including my family and friends and everybody else, if I can, you know, reach this new heights. So I'm excited.
And how many doors are you at right now?
I mean, as of Thursday, when closing statement's already out, when I close on this apartment, it'll be 26. So we're trying to get to 100 by this time next year. So
I love it. And you've put your foot on the pedal a lot this last year. Like, it's been cool seeing you grow, and it's been cool seeing you scale at a reasonable and effective speed, basically.
yeah, and I will say that I think we were going to get into this a little bit. I could never have done this as quickly and as happily had I not met my partner. I mean, Nick, first and foremost, I met. But then now for the last 19 months, I've been dating Joe Hembrook, and we formed Joe Squared, and we flip houses together along with Dennis and Nick sometimes, and all, you know, whatever the deal makes sense. But Joe, when I met him, he was an engineer, and he had built his own house in Montana. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So I knew that he was interested in real estate, and very quickly he decided to leave his job and come on board with me full time. So we together have 4 of those properties of the 26 doors. Well, that'll make 16 we'll share once this apartment closes. And he's going to help be my asset manager, as I love acquisitions and meeting and talking to new people. He'll kind of be the asset manager, you know, staying on top of these contractors when we find projects that need renovation. And then we'll continue to do local flips and investing. But just to have that partner is so fun, and adds a level of comfort, and the mindset of like, man, we can conquer the world, you know? So I'm very excited about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It helps that he's an incredibly solid dude as well. Like, I love Joe. He's just always helpful and just a caring guy. Great guy to have on your team for sure. So props to you guys. You guys are going to do great things for sure. So you pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about with that, though, just about having a partner and just having somebody in your corner, seeing your vision and helping you implement it is super huge.
And I'm sure there'll be challenges, as any of us know that work with. I never thought I could work with my his future spouse, or, you know, like my boyfriend or anything, because it is hard sometimes. It's you constantly thinking and talking about these projects. It's hard to give it a rest when you're home. And then there's expectations that are, you know, he's the best ever, but he is a little more easygoing than me, who's like ambitious and like, okay, why aren't you on the site right now? Like, you know, so there's that give and take where we just have to, you know, communication has got to be on point for this to be successful. And I think we are getting better every day at that.
That's good. And I do think that's a good dynamic to have, right? You have someone easygoing and somebody who's kind of helping drive the boat, so to say. It helps really make a 1-2 punch combo for a investor couple for sure.
So I just want to throw this out there too. You mentioned a little bit earlier that you want to get to 100 doors. Now, when I met you, you wanted to get to 10 houses and quit. And it was my goal to have 100 doors. And I feel like you're just doing whatever you can to destroy my dreams. So I just wanted to let you know, and I'm putting this out there on record, I will get to 100 doors before you. I'm sorry.
You also said you get your first apartment before me, so you have about 3 days.
Yeah, man, let's get going. Can we get you funded in 3 days?
Well, what would you call an RV park? Does an RV park count for anything?
It's not an apartment.
It's not an apartment.
Yeah, okay, good. I got 3 days. No, well, I'm going to get to 100 doors before you. That's all I wanted to say.
This is good competition. I love it.
You help motivate me by keeping me competitive. I'm ultra competitive sometimes and very passive about it too. Anyway, I just think it's so ironic that that's all. When I met you, that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to get to 100 or 10 doors, and you wanted to call it quits. What was it that once you got to 10, you decided, now I want to keep doing this?
Honestly, I think I struggled. I still struggle sometimes. Like, you hear about finding your big why. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And everyone's like, of course I'm doing it so that my family can be comfortable and that, it's been fun. I mean, it's always challenging too. But I think that I finally think my big why, and I stole this from a podcast, is just the consistent and persistent pursuit of my greatest potential. I think when I got to 10 doors and I was kind of like, okay, now what? Like, I didn't want to be bored, and I was a little bit, and I could have coasted, but that isn't my greatest potential. I know I you know, have learned so much and I have so much ambition that, you know, but today I'm like I hear syndicators all the time and people with thousands of doors. And I'm like, I never want to do that. Now watch, in 5 years, maybe I will, because I mean, I just want to be open to any possibility that's where I feel most alive, most happy, is when I'm growing and chasing my potential. If I stop, it's so boring and I get really depressed. And so, I mean, I'm just going to keep trying to follow that. And, as long as it seems fun and I can help more people, I think I'm just going to keep going.
Perfect. Now, anyone out there who's played Monopoly or the game Cash Flow, the ultimate goal of the game is to buy, you want to buy like single family homes at a great deal, let them cash flow and let them appreciate and then sell them. Like on Monopoly, it's, three greenhouses, one hotel or something like that, or 4 greenhouses, one hotel.
Can I tell you, I hated Monopoly too? That's so funny. Like, I hated Monopoly, but I'm playing it in real life and I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, the secret to really great cash flow is to get rid of, get these single family plays to get you in the game, build you some equity over time. And then have you planned on potentially selling any of these single family homes? That way you can take the cash and invest in more bigger apartments?
I have not, because I believe in this area so much. If you look at our population growth and you look at how beautiful a place we live in, I just think I will regret selling anything I have here in Coeur d'Alene. And I'm a hoarder. I'm a house hoarder. If there's a creative way that I can still get into deals by using cash flow from our real estate business or home equity lines of credit or private money to burr and refinance out and have infinite returns, I'm going to exhaust those avenues before I 1031 or decide to sell anything here, because my houses are A properties here for the most part. They're beautiful. I would move back to them in a heartbeat.
Except for Jensen.
Except for Jensen, that Nick passed on and I scooped up.
It's in Hayden. It's not in Coeur d'Alene.
It's like an A+ property, basically.
I would live in that one though too. I really would. All the properties I've rehabbed to a great, cosmetic quartz countertops, white cabinets. They're beautiful. And I love them. They're my children and I do not want to sell them.
Perfect. Well, good. That might make it challenging to get to 100 doors then.
It might. But you wait. You wait, Mr. Beveridge. I'm going to find some more.
I'm just going to swoop out of nowhere, by the way, and I'm going to get 100 before both of you combined. I'm at like half right now.
The way these things work, Jeremy just might.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But I don't even care. I mean, that number is just a fun number to throw out there. The more number I'm impressed with, because you hear people say, I have 300 doors, but they are a 10% owner. And I'm more interested in the cash flow and what that can do for my family and for helping other people. So the real goal is that I figure if I could get about $200 net cash flow per door.
Sorry about that. We had a technical difficulty. We're back up and running. Joe, go ahead and finish where you left off.
Yes, I think I was saying the ultimate goal here. I like to say I want 100 units. Well, now I really do, just to beat you, because I'm ultra competitive as well.
I know. Don't challenge her to a mileage race either.
Exactly. You want to talk about Fitbit challenge? We had a race still that I kicked your butt.
I want to redo this summer.
He had to babysit my kids.
That's right.
Twice.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I figured $200 net cash flow per door, and then that with the single family homes that I own should put us at $25,000 a month. And then I'll feel very secure, and that I can travel the world and ignore my children and live my best life. Oh, I mean, take them with too.
Awesome. So so the goal is $25,000 a month in passive income.
Yes, for now.
With 100 doors, you should get there. That makes sense. Cool. Now, so what vacations out there have not you gone on yet that you want to?
Well, Joe and I sat down and we created a bucket list of 100 things we still want to do. And on that bucket list, there was at least 40 places. So I haven't been to New Zealand. I've never been to Europe. We're hopefully going to go for the first time this summer. Um, I've circumnavigated the globe in college, but I still have so many places to explore, so many adventures to be had while I'm young. Yes, 42 is still young, Nick. Jeremy.
It is absolutely.
Sure.
I want to try. I want to see as much of the world as I can, and spoil all my friends and family too.
Cool. Are you willing to share which markets you're investing in, or which ones that you're researching pretty heavily?
Yes. So of course I'm heavily invested here in North Idaho. I believe in this. His pen and paper ready to steal all my places. I think Coeur d'Alene, you can still find deals. You can still find deals in any market, and I will keep investing here till I die, probably. I love Springfield, Illinois. I went there, and I think it's a very clean city. It's the capital. I'm sure there's areas that are awful, and I did not go visit those. But the places I went to, it just seemed like home to me, because I'm from Wisconsin in the Midwest. And it's got a very steady population. They don't really grow or decline. And I just think that you're not going to get the appreciation you would in some other markets. But I think those are I'm finding are really great cash flow markets. And so I really like that area. I really like Kentucky and Tennessee. And I'm excited to keep exploring more areas. I kind of just stole Jennifer Beadle's from Addicted to ROI, her metrics as far as what I'm looking for is anything from really primarily 2 to 25 units, but really in that 5 to 26 unit space, and built after 1964. If it's brick, solid, foundations. If it's 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and I think the tenants stay longer in those. And then just looking for that, value add where rents were low, maybe a tired landlord, or in my case, like somebody's just shaving off a portfolio and just moving on to bigger and better things. The guy, the property manager, he's really into storage units. I think that's why he was getting rid of some of the apartments. And so, he gets it that, yeah, you can hang on to it. It'd be a good deal, because you're always skeptical. You're like, why would you give this up? But it's just because he has other priorities. So hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. So what's the purpose for trying to keep it under 25 units?
I just think I can get into those by myself. If I go bigger than that, I'm going to have to partner or get more creative. I mean, maybe there's seller financing and creative. I mean, I'm not going to I'm going to look at everything, but I just think in that price range, I can probably do the deal myself and not have to. I'm not ready. I mean, I just want to get maybe 3 or 4 of these, and then I'll be ready to go bigger. But I just think this is a great starting point for me to learn how the out-of-state apartment game works.
Perfect. All right. What advice do you have for anybody who is starting their ventures looking in the Midwest from out of state? Who should they be calling, like, right off the bat, you think?
I mean, I would do it the same way I've been doing it. I would be searching on websites for investor savvy agents or deals that look like something I'd like, and I would call them and start networking. Bigger pockets, the wealth of resources. You can find investor friendly agents in any state. But like I would look at deals on Crexy.com, on Zillow has a multifamily search, on LoopNet. I think I've had the least amount of luck with so far, but I'm so new. I've only been looking for 2 months. So not even a month and a half. So.
And real quick on that too, Joe, when you're analyzing out-of-state deals and everything like that, you mentioned at the beginning of the episode you have a spreadsheet. What do you have in your spreadsheet? Like, what metrics are you specifically looking for that make a deal? I know you said cash flow earlier, but obviously there's a lot more that goes onto the plate than that. So.
Yes, so you can find spreadsheets on Bigger Pockets if you just Google it. I'm sure you can. That kind of, you just put in the purchase price, what you would offer, kind of, and then you plug in vacancy, CapEx, property management, utilities. Typically with apartments, they're paying for, the bigger utilities, but you might pay water, sewer, trash. You're plugging in what you think your interest rate and your loan terms are, and it's feeding all in to then show you what that DSCR is, what the potential cash on cash return is. And that's kind of where you start. And after you do that 20 times, doesn't take that many, you can look at almost anything in ballpark. Another great tip, I read Michael Blanc's book, Multifamily Millionaire Investor, or something like that. It's a yellow book. And he uses the ballpark. You just take a purchase price and you take 50% right off the top. That's going to go to management and CapEx and all these expenses. And then you factor in your loan costs. And then if it still looks like it would make sense, knowing what the rents are in that area, and you can look at Zillow for rents, Zumper, Bigger Pockets. I mean, just by doing back of the napkin type calculations, you can know if something is worth your time to keep digging into in 5 minutes.
You said you take the purchase price and then take half off. Do you mean like take the gross rents and then take half off?
Yes. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right. Cool. So, you said you just backed out of a deal earlier, 5 unit. What's next in the pipeline? Do you have anything, or are you actively searching?
I'm just networking heavily in Springfield. Supposedly there's 3 or 4 opportunities there that I'm hoping my agent actually, he's has a couple partners thinking of selling their 6 unit, and they want to buy an Airbnb in Gatlinburg, which I literally hear on almost every podcast. I don't know how the Smoky Mountains can still have Airbnbs that make sense, because literally everybody I hear wants to do that. So hopefully that doesn't get too saturated. But so he might sell me his 6 unit, so I'm just networking with that and constantly still looking on Zillow and Crexy, and just every day just trying to see if anything new's hitting the market there and exploring new areas. I hear different things about, should you spread out and be like Jennifer Beadles, I know, is in 6 different states or whatever, and I like that idea for diversifying. But I also hear, if you just focus down, say I just focus on Springfield and just start networking and knowing a lot of people, then you're going to be even more successful, because you're going to have all the key players.
Perfect. That's some really good advice. Thank you. All right. Well, so I think we were getting close to an hour. It's hard to tell because we split this in 2. But Jeremy, do you want to take it away with our final questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick though, Joe, I do want you to kind of plug your real estate out-of-state investor meetup. I'd love for people to figure out how to get in contact with you about it and how to actually come to the meetup and see the information you're providing.
Yeah, so you can go to Nick and I's website, northidahorei.com. We post we have 3 monthly meetings now, and this new one is specifically focused on looking out of state. It's the 3rd Thursday in Coeur d'Alene at the Keller Williams every month at 6:30. So you can go on that website. My phone number and email, everything's on there. Would love to work with anybody.
Absolutely. And we'll put all that stuff in the show notes too at the bottom, especially how to get in contact with you and how to be friends with you on all the social medias so people can follow along with all the cool stuff you're doing.
It's a lot of cats. So
I love it.
If you like cats, you might like my stuff.
Real quick though, before we get into just the final questions, I did want to talk about the North Idaho REI team and the culture you guys provide because honestly, like working for you guys and with you two has been some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. What do you think the benefits are, both of you? This is a question for both, of just having a good culture and having such a strong foundation for that.
I mean, I don't know how you can have a successful business, especially in real estate, if you don't growing a team. I mean, it doesn't one person can throw the whole vibe off. So, it's really important to, I don't know, I think to be like-minded and to not have anything. I don't know, it's such a weird balance and a gut feeling sometimes of who's going to work out long term. And Nick and I have definitely gone through our handful of admin people or agents that weren't quite the right fit, and so it is trial and error. And we've done everything wrong as far as we were quick to hire, slow to fire, way too many times. But I think we try to have we lucked out in that we have very similar sense of humor, and so we have fun, and we try to do something every month that's super fun, whether it's a white elephant Christmas party at your house, Jeremy, or taking the team to Mexico, totally Nick's idea. Every year for the last 3 years, we're going again this February. We take everyone to Mexico, and I think also the heart of it is we really come from abundance. We help our agents find deals, and Nick all the time selflessly will give a deal up so that a team member can flip it and, learn. And I think that just creates trust and a culture of like, let's all win. So I'll let you speak more to it, Nick, but I think it's been great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to agree with everything you've said, and maybe just add that, yeah, culture is, I totally believe it's the most important thing because a lot of skills can be taught. It's hard to teach motivation, but you are the five people you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounded by a group of people that are A players, eventually, that person is going to step it up or they're going to leave. And yeah, I mean, I really do have this strong belief that this could be like the last real estate team anyone has to join, because we're going to teach them how to invest. We're going to encourage it. We're going to offer deals. And eventually I just want to see our team get rich off cash flow, and they're not going to have to go do another job. They're not going to have to do anything else in life other than build up a rental portfolio, and then they can kind of maybe recruit team members from there or something like that. But I've seen a lot of other real estate teams in my day, and if the culture's not there, people burn out. You can have all the best systems in the world, you can have the best coaching, but people are eventually going to walk away if they just don't feel like they're friends with the group of people they surround themselves with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we spend more time together than we do with our spouses sometimes. And we just got to make it worth that time.
I love it. And again, coming from kind of an outsider in the real estate investing world until recently, you two were really my motivators and my mentors, right? Just being in that office with you guys and just having the fun and seeing what you were both doing made me realize that there was another way to do life. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you both. Absolutely. So yeah.
Good. That makes me so happy.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I want every team member to have a 5-year plan where they're off the team if they want to be in 5 years because they've learned so much and grown so much and have their own investments. So, yeah, our goal is to retire everybody on the team.
I love it. Coming from abundance.
Yeah. But that means as people retire, we have to recruit more. So if you're interested in joining the team, get a hold of Joe and she'll pre-screen you.
The problem is you're creating too many successful people.
That's great.
I love it. It's a good problem to have for sure. So, Joe, we are going to be winding down here. I do have just a couple final questions for you. The first one is if you had a business or mindset or investing book that you recommend every single investor read, what would that be?
So I have two, if I can have two.
No.
I'm
just kidding. Go ahead.
I love Jen Sincero's book, You Are a Badass and You Are a Badass at Making Money. I think when I got into real estate, well, I didn't even know I was going to get into real estate. I quit speech therapy and I just power walked every morning listening to Tony Robbins, Jen Sincero, all these people on mindset and attracting what you really want in your life. And I just think that's huge. If you can get your mindset right, I think that's going to help everything else. You don't have to know the how right away. You just have to know, the what, and get your vibration in the right direction. And then for real estate specific, I got to go with the blue book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I read it every couple years, and I always take away completely different things. I'm excited to read it again now that I'm getting into apartments, because I'm like, I don't even remember what they said about apartments. So I love those two books.
What's cool is I just read The Millionaire Real Estate Investor for the first time just about 2 months ago, and as soon as I was done, my first takeaway was I could read this every year. I could get something new out of this every single time I read it, and there's only a few books that I could do that with. So, it's good stuff. The next question I have for you, Joe, is if you have $30 million gifted to you into one of your bank accounts, because I know you got more than one of them, what's the first thing you would do with that money?
Well, of course, I would continue buying apartments and all that stuff, but I would take a couple months to find a good deal. So the first thing I do would be to book an amazing travel adventure for all my family and friends. I love traveling and having adventures and having a good time with all you guys. So another reason to join our team and be my friend, because we're going to go places.
We're going to do things. It's good stuff. The next question is, if you had any advice you'd recommend to give for anyone looking for their first or second deal, either locally in the market they're in or out of state, what would that be?
I 100% would do the Joe Turner method, which is not really invented or me, the only one doing it by far. But it's just the best way you can get into it. And you don't even have to, there's so many creative ways, but buy your own house, live in it, and then move out and buy another one with as low down payment as you can. If you have to co-sign with a parent, I don't care how you get into it. Just get started doing that, because everybody needs a place to live. And then, that's how I did it. So I'm biased on that. That's a good way to start.
Absolutely. And I think just something to add to that too, just taking the action, right? Doing the steps, because if you're going to sit on the sidelines, your opportunities are going to pass you by.
Yep.
Nick, anything you want to add to that?
No, I just wanted to thank you again for coming on the show and coming into my life and helping me get to the next level of my career. And I know for sure I wasn't able to do it without you. So
you would have. It would have just looked different.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I expressed my gratitude towards you enough, but I just appreciate everything you have done and everything you continue to do. So thank you. And we will close with that, right? No more questions?
I got it. That's good. Closing with gratitude is a good thing. So again, thank you so much, Joe, for coming on. Anything you want to add, Joe?
I'm super grateful for you guys too.
Aww. Little heart there. Little heart.
Ending with hearts. Hey, how about we end with that Carl? Is he still around?
Where's that Carl?
Can you flash his,
Carl!
how we were going to start the show? Little bonus for you guys that just didn't leave yet.
For anyone watching to the end, this is going to be a treat.
Look at Carl. There he is.
Oh, there's the little guy.
All right, Carl, you're a good replacement to Karen. And
my cat.
Oh. Rest in peace, Karen.
To all the dead cats out there, rest in peace.
Thank you so much for checking out the Investor Shed podcast. If you enjoyed your time, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow along on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at The Investor Shed for shorts and promos about each episode. Do you want to be a guest or know someone who has great real estate investing advice and stories? Reach out to us at theinvestorshed@gmail.com.